So, hi, welcome to Places to Go with Heather Gill. In this episode of People to Know, I am with Cynthia Wunsch with Strike the Right Note in Carrollton, Texas. Cynthia, I appreciate so much your time. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and Strike the Right Note.
Well, I started out in neuroscience, and I got into that when I was 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I studied my whole life for it. And then when I was about to graduate from college, I got some very bad news that the colleges had no funding for research.
Oh, wow.
And there wasn't any practical use for neuroscience at the time.
Right.
So my brother got me involved in computer programming.
Okay.
And I did that, and I decided I hated that. So
Right.
a neighbor gave me a book to help you decide on your career.
Okay.
And I decided that I'd be happier in classical music.
Okay, so you jumped from like a degree in neuroscience to like learning computers and like decided, screw all this, I'm just going to go be a classical performer.
Yes.
Okay.
That was the plan.
Tell me more about that. That's very intriguing.
And so I started getting a master's degree in classical music. And at first I was pretty terrible at it. And I kept on going. And eventually I got scholarships and awards and got my master's degree. And then I went to Europe to become an opera singer.
Wow. So I bet that was pretty, I could only imagine. So this was like the 70s or 80s, I imagine, or 90s in Europe?
This was the early 90s when I went to Europe.
Okay. So the early 90s, you're in Europe, you're traveling as a classical performer. What were your top two favorite places to perform in Europe?
Kind of like asking you to pick your two favorite children.
Right.
I loved France and I loved Germany.
Okay. Some really strong classical roots in both of those countries. Absolutely. No, that's awesome. So you traveled and you did opera singing and performing for how long? How long did you do that professionally?
7 years.
Okay.
And then for family reasons, I came back to the United States, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. Well, very cool. Well, I'm not an aficionado. I certainly couldn't tell you who wrote what piece necessarily, but I do like classical music a lot. It's really cool to hear that you did opera. I think that's really cool. So so when you got home in the States after traveling, after seeing the world, after performing in opera, how did you transition into doing what you do now and doing Strike the Right Note?
Well, I had actually started teaching my first semester in school. After a few weeks, other students were coming to me instead of to the teacher for help.
Okay.
And so I had been tutoring people ever since I started, basically, and I still taught when I was in Europe. And then when I came back, that was just an extension of what I'd already been doing. So I've been teaching for more than 30 years now.
Okay. So you've been teaching the classical arts, the performance arts here in the North Texas area. And I know you've been in Carrollton for some time. I think, since the 80s, when you settled down here, you came into Carrollton?
Since 2005, I've been in Carrollton.
Okay. All right. So now tell me about your unique training style, because I know I just imagine that neuroscience thing comes into play when you're helping your students?
Yes. Well, when you do neuroscience, you start out as pre-med. And so I learned a lot about functional anatomy, and I learned a lot about physics and the mechanics of the different muscles and all that. And when I started singing, like a lot of singers, I was very frustrated because it wasn't consistent all the time. And so eventually I decided to take a more functional approach to it, and I really studied the aerodynamics, the hydraulics, the functional anatomy, and how the muscles worked and how they affect your performing. Okay. And so based on that and a lot of field work, I was able to develop a skill of teaching that gives much faster results, and you're able to start off fast and continue to develop very quickly. And so my piano students are able to play with both hands and start reading music at the first lesson. And my voice students are able to see gradual improvements in their voices starting about 1 month in.
Okay.
And they're usually ready to perform after about 18 months, depending on how hard they work.
Right. Yeah, because classical music's not an easy genre to conquer or to get good in. And you have to really practice that, you know. So, but it sounds like you've got a really good method with your background and with your training to really get your students rocket ship propelled forward, right? To really get them off to a really good start.
Yes. And the other thing is I realize that people are busy, so my method takes only 10 minutes practice twice a day.
Okay. Seems reasonable. No, I love that. That sounds pretty awesome. So you've been doing this, so you've been training for a while, you've been using this method for a while. How many students have you seen go on to do the same kind of thing you were doing, to actually be like performing in the arts?
I've seen dozens really over my career. A lot of them don't actually want to be performers. They have a specific goal in mind. For example, I had a student whose goal was to sing their wedding song to his wife on their anniversary.
Oh,
and that's really all he wanted.
Right.
And I had another student whose goal was to play the wedding march at her sister's wedding. And when she got to that point, she had reached her goals. So I have students with lofty goals and students with very modest goals.
Sure. So Cynthia, I hear that you have some really fascinating and interesting hobbies. I would love to know more about those hobbies. Would you share that with us?
Yes. Well, my first hobby is medieval weapons, and how I got into that was when I took opera, I had to take fencing. And
oh, wow.
I did stage fencing at first, and then my teachers suggested that I do combat fencing because in case a tenor got overexcited, I would be able to defend myself and keep him from poking my eyes out.
That was
and then I was always interested in medieval history since I was a child. So when I had time and had the opportunity to get into training, I started getting into historical weapons. And so I did longsword, broadsword, short sword, buckler, spear, staff, dagger, and, you know, pretty much anything.
So what you're telling me is don't go picking a fight with you in a parking lot.
Yes.
Don't get into a fight in a dark alley, right? Because like that's not going to go over well.
Right.
That's amazing. I think that's very fascinating.
And the other thing that I love to do is I started cooking when I was 9 years old.
Okay.
And I really got into cooking as a hobby. And so I now do medieval cooking. And
Okay.
so I have books like this one, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
La Gastronomie du Moyen Âge, which is the cuisine of the Middle Ages.
Cuisine of the Middle Ages. Wow. Okay, so what? Give us the recipe, like, or not to like tell us the recipe, but you know what I mean. Like, what's one of your favorite things to cook out of the book, or something that would be very unusual for us today? Like, are there recipes for fried squirrel dumplings or something? I don't even know.
Well, no, there's not. There's all kinds of different recipes for bread,
Okay.
for different desserts. There's one for walnuts and bread with walnuts and ginger.
Okay.
So that's one of my favorites.
Nice.
And then there's one for eggs with mustard sauce that's really good. So
Okay.
there's a lot of different ones that are very interesting and very delicious.
That's pretty awesome. So that book you were showing us, you told me earlier that was from what, the 1300s?
Yes, from the 1300s.
Tried and true recipes. So you can bake your bread, and then you can take your long sword and go to town. Yeah. No, it's definitely cool. I love it. That's very, very interesting. I would love to know, do you have a favorite musician or artist that's like your go-to, or one that you just really love?
There's a lot of them I really love. I have to say that I'm a big fan of early music, which is the medieval, the Renaissance, and the Baroque eras, so up to about 1750.
Oh, wow.
And then as far as modern composers, I would say that I can't pick just one favorite, but I would have to say that one of my favorites would probably be Mahler. He lived from 1865 to 1911, so pretty much 20th century.
Huh, I'll have to go check him out. Well, I actually have a music background myself. At one time, I thought I was going to be a worship pastor, so I did music classes there. And when I graduated, figured out that wasn't quite my path. But I love music. I'm such a music fan, and I'll definitely check this Mahler guy out. Well, very good. So let's share. Why don't you share with us some nuggets of wisdom? Anything that you feel like you'd want to share with folks? Something that's important to you? What would you say?
I would say for anyone who wants to be a musician, don't take advice from amateurs. I hear a lot of that, and unfortunately, people are often giving advice that's contrary to the way that the universe works.
Okay.
And the other I would say is never do anything that you find physically uncomfortable, because that's your body's way of telling you you're doing it wrong.
So we should listen to our bodies.
Absolutely.
Cynthia, as you can tell, she knows what she's talking about. She's obviously done this, as proof by her travels in Europe and her performance in the arts. And so if you're looking for somebody to help you go to the next level, or if you're just starting out, I think she'd be the perfect person for you. She's local to Carrollton. Her information's on the screen, so you can reach her by phone. You can go to her website, striketherightnote.com, or you can email her and reach her that way. All right, Cynthia, thank you so much for your time. Super duper appreciate it. Once we get out of quarantine, it'd be nice to meet you in person.
Well, thank you, Heather. And I do look forward to meeting you in person. And I look forward to ending the quarantine and going back to work.
Cheers to that. All right, Cynthia, have an awesome day. And again, thanks for tuning in, guys.